Hey everyone, welcome back. Really glad you're here today because we're about to talk about something that hits every dog lover right in the chest. Here's my question for you, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever sat there? You, the person who buys the food, schedules the vet appointments, picks up the toys off the floor every single morning, and watched your dog absolutely lose its mind with excitement when your roommate, your partner, or your neighbor just walked through the door. This, while you're sitting right there, holding the treat bag, that sting, that little pang of, wait, seriously, it's real, and you are not alone. But here's what I want you to know today. Your dog is not choosing their favorite person randomly. It's not ingratitude. It's not a personality flaw. Modern neuroscience has actually started to crack this open. And the answer is so much more surprising and, honestly, so much more beautiful than most people expect. Stay with me all the way through this one, because this story starts with one man, one enormous MRI machine, and a love for a small pug that changed the direction of an entire scientific field. In 2012, at Emory University in Atlanta, a neuroscientist named Gregory Burns did something that, before that moment, no one had seriously attempted. He trained dogs to lie completely still inside an fMRI scanner, awake, unrestrained, no sedation, using only positive reinforcement, treats, patience, repetition. His team taught dogs to wear space cache cancellation ear protection and hold a perfectly still position inside a machine that, let's be honest, is loud and intimidating even for humans. Why did he do this? Because of a quiet afternoon and a dog named Newton. Newton was a pug. Gregory had spent 14 years with him. 14 years of lazy afternoons on the couch, long walks where Newton would lean into his leg, evenings where the little dog pressed close while Gregory worked. When Newton's spine gave out and he passed away, Gregory held him in that final moment and found himself asking one question he couldn't shake. Did Newton love me the same way I loved him? Not in a poetic sense. In a real, neurological, measurable sense, did that dog feel something genuine? That question became the Dog Project at Emory University. And what they found, published in the journal Behaviorologies in 2014, genuinely stunned the scientific community. When dogs were exposed to the scent of their owner, even when that person wasn't in the room, a specific region of their brain lit up on the scanner. That region is called the caudate nucleus. It's associated with reward, positive anticipation, and emotional response. It's the same region that activates in human brains when we see a photo of someone we love. And here's the part that gets me every time. The owner's scent activated the caudate nucleus more strongly than the scent of food, more than the scent of other dogs, more than the scent of a stranger. To your dog, your scent isn't just familiar. It is, in the most literal neurological sense of the word, home. So we know dogs have deep emotional responses to their people. But why is that response stronger with certain people than others? For that answer, we go to Japan. In 2015, researcher Miho Nagasawa and her team at Azabu University published a study in Science magazine, one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world. And what they found rewrote the way we understand the human-dog relationship entirely. Here's what happened. They brought in dog owners and their dogs. Let them interact for 30 minutes. Collected urine samples before and after to measure oxytocin levels. Oxytocin being the hormone most associated with social bonding and affection. What they found was this: the longer a dog gazed into their owner's eyes, the higher the owner's oxytocin levels climbed. And in response, the owner would gaze back longer, touch the dog more, talk to them more, which then raised the dog's oxytocin levels. which made the dog gaze more. Back and forth, a self-reinforcing chemical loop between two different species. They called it the oxytocin gaze positive loop. Now here's the piece that I think is the most important part of this entire video. The researchers ran the same experiment with wolves, the direct ancestors of domestic dogs. Animals that are genetically almost identical to dogs. The wolves didn't respond. The loop didn't activate. Let that sink in for a second. Dogs evolved over roughly 15,000 years of living alongside humans to develop a biological mechanism that creates genuine chemical bonding specifically with us, not with other animals, not even with their own wild ancestors. With people, the person whose gaze your dog holds the longest, whose voice makes them soften, whose presence makes them exhale, that person is triggering something ancient and hardwired. And it runs deeper than treats, deeper than walks. It's written into their biology. Now, around that same time, a separate team of researchers was asking a different but equally fascinating question. Not what happens inside a dog's brain, but what happens to a dog's behavior when their person is in the room. In 2013, researcher Lisa Horn and her colleagues at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna published a study that borrowed a concept from child psychology and found it alive and well in dogs. The concept is called the secure base effect. Here's how it works with children. When a parent is nearby, a toddler feels safe enough to explore, to try new things, to be brave. The parent doesn't have to do anything, just be there. The moment the parent leaves, the child pulls back, gets anxious, stops exploring. Horn's team designed a simple experiment. They placed dogs in front of a puzzle, a container with food inside that required effort to open. Then they varied one thing: who was in the room. Sometimes the owner was present but silent. Sometimes the owner encouraged them. Sometimes the owner was completely absent, and sometimes a stranger replaced the owner entirely. The results were clear. Dogs worked longer, tried harder, and were more persistent when their owner was present, regardless of whether the owner said anything or not. When the owner was absent, they gave up faster. And when a stranger replaced the owner, no effect at all. The stranger provided zero benefit. It was the specific person that mattered, not just any human. This explains so many small moments that dog owners recognize. The dog who won't leave your side during a thunderstorm. The dog who brings you their favorite toy first, before anyone else in the room. The dog who can be sleeping peacefully across the house, but the second you walk in the door, something in them just releases. You're not just their person, you're their nervous system's resets button. Here's Sopdicer. Here's something else that explains a lot, and that most dog owners never hear about. Behavioral scientists have identified what's called the critical socialization window in dogs, roughly from week 3 to week 12 after birth. During this specific period, a puppy's brain is doing something extraordinary. It's building its templates for the world. What's safe? What's threatening? What's familiar? What's home? Research confirms that the experiences a puppy has during this window have lasting, measurable effects on their behavior as adults. The sights, sounds, smells, and people they encounter in those first 12 weeks shape the emotional architecture they carry for the rest of their lives. What does this mean for the question of who your dog loves most? It means that the person who was most consistently positively present during those early weeks has a neurological head start. Not because the dog consciously decided to prefer them, but because that person's voice, scent, and presence got encoded as a safety signal in a brain that was still being built. This is why the partner who works from home sometimes becomes the dog's primary person. Not because they're more loving, but because their consistent daily presence accumulated into something the dog's brain recognizes as anchor. But here's the part I want you to hold on to. Bonds deepen over time. Preferences can shift. What the science tells us is that consistency and positive presence matter more than any single dramatic gesture. I want to stop here for a moment, because I know some of you are watching this and quietly thinking, this is me. I do everything for this dog, and it still runs to someone else. Let me offer you something the science actually supports. Dogs don't love in a hierarchy the way we do. They distribute different kinds of attachment to different people for different needs. One person might be the adventure companion. Another might be the calm, steady presence they seek when something frightens them. Another might be the one they go to when they're not feeling well. That last one is often the caretaker, the one who handles the vet visits, who notices when something's off, who worries quietly and acts on it. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to emotional states. The person who watches them most carefully often becomes the person they trust most deeply, even if they're not the most exciting person in the room. And remember what Burns's research showed. The caudate nucleus responds not just to scent, but to the return of a familiar person after absence. Every single time you come home, your dog's brain is registering you as significant, as theirs. That doesn't always look like a dramatic greeting. Sometimes it's a tail that lifts slightly, a dog that relocates to whatever room you're in, a soft exhale as they settle next to you on the couch. It's quieter than we expect, but it's real. So what can you actually do to deepen that bond? Here's what the research genuinely points toward: eye contact, soft and intentional. The Nagasawa study found that the pairs with the strongest oxytocin loops were the ones with the longest mutual gaze during their time together. You don't need to stare your dog down. A calm, gentle look held for a few seconds, repeated regularly, is enough to activate that chemistry. Be the steadiest one when things get hard. The secure base research is clear. Your dog is monitoring you when they're stressed. Your calm presence during a thunderstorm, a vet visit, or a chaotic moment tells their nervous system that everything is okay. You don't need words. You just need to be grounded. Play together, not just coexist. Oxytocin builds through active, positive interaction, not just proximity. Training sessions, games, anything where you and your dog are working together. These build a different and deeper kind of bond than simply being in the same room. And show up consistently. The sense of safety that makes someone a dog's anchor is built through repetition. Same presence, same reliability over time. You don't need to do anything dramatic. You just need to keep showing up. After all the brain scanners and hormone measurements and lab experiments, what the science is really saying is this: your dog is not a creature of simple habit who follows whoever holds the food bowl. They are a species that evolved over thousands of years a specific biological capacity to bond with humans. One that wolves never developed, that no other domesticated animal has quite replicated. They read our faces. They track our emotional states. They produce the same bonding hormone we do when we look into each other's eyes. And they seek us out, specifically us, not just any person, when they feel afraid, when they feel uncertain, when they need to feel safe. That's not instinct alone. That's not just training. That's something that took 50,000 years of shared history to build. So the next time your dog settles down next to you, not because they need anything, not because there's food involved, just because you're there, understand what that actually is. It's the result of 15 millennia of evolution pointing straight at you, saying, this is my person. This is one. This is my person. Now I want to hear from you. What's the quiet moment? Not the big dramatic reunion at the door, but the small, specific moment when you knew your dog saw you as theirs. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and honestly, your stories are bestial parts of making these videos. If this gives a new way of seeing your dog, or just made you want to go sit next to them right now, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. Go give your dog a quiet moment of eye contact tonight. You'll both feel it. See you in the next one.